Welcome to Sound Mind International. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Hello and welcome to part 3 of self-concept and depression. I want to congratulate you on completing part 1 and part 2. In this course, we are going to be dealing with, are you conforming to the patterns of this world or making progress? What does she mean, conforming? Let's find out and get right into the course. Cosmos. Cosmos is a Greek word for world. And oftentimes we need to consider what type of system is controlling you, because the world as we know it, the earth, is not the world. The world is what I call the cosmos. So as I told you, there are two worlds, the world of light and the world of darkness. And both of this involve and consist of a particular system. So when I ask you what system is controlling you, the system or the world of darkness often involves a Babylonian system. Because oftentimes, I don't know, in religion, I don't know what religion has taught you, it will be ignorant to not think that there is the fallen angel, formerly known as Lucifer or the devil, because oftentimes I don't really like acknowledging him, but oftentimes I believe when it says do not be ignorant of the devices of the enemy, most people do not realize that it comes in the forms of system. That most people who are awake and alert will start to recognize that, okay, and in terms of policy and legislation that most people are not aware of. So when I ask you what type of system is controlling you, I'm asking what world. Is it the world of light or the system rather of light of darkness that is controlling you? And the Babylonian system, meaning, are you just another national insurance number? Are you just another tax code? Are you just being forced into labor, meaning you have to be forced into labor or into work rather to get money, to pay your bills, to pay your housing, in order to pay for your food, in order to survive? So this is a vicious cycle that unfortunately can get passed over from generation to generation. And as a result, this could affect your thinking, because sometimes most of you, as I mentioned, society, has trained you into that Babylonian system that you only think like the only way for you to make money is, or to be wealthy, is through your job. But beloved, I thank God I've come to tell you, of another system, which is the system and the kingdom of light, which takes care of their citizens. So yet again, I want to ask you, I want you to reflect, and possibly I would recommend to go and do research on Babylonian system, possibly from the Old Testament. You remember, like King Nebuchadnezzar? So I would encourage you to go and possibly do a historical and cultural check in order for you to get more understanding about what I mean, or for your post, if you'd like to add in more knowledge, the knowledge maybe you already have, or possibly you'd like to understand a little bit more. So which leads me again to ask you, are you conforming to what society, to what others think, or the way that they have trained you? Or are you thinking and reasoning your thought process through another system? Progress. In part 1, we discussed about knowing who you are. So are you taking gradual steps in discovering yourself? This is the homework that I left you over as well in part 2, is to take gradual steps in terms of discovering yourself through indulging in discipline. It could be a book, it could be engaging, I don't know, maybe you want to learn a new instrument. It could be whatever goal, objectives, or aims that you've set for yourself. So if you're going to fail, and this is from my personal experience, you better fail big to get out of that comfort zone. But oftentimes, if you're controlled by the Babylonian system, this could be very hard for you, because you're thinking like, oh, maybe you don't want to take that risk and start that business, because you think like, okay, you have so much at stake to lose. Or maybe you're thinking, you're even calculating like, I have to stay in this job for the next 5, 10, 15 years. But when the pandemic coronavirus came, that brought, a rude awakening that you cannot just rely on your job as a source of income. So you had to be creative and renovative in certain areas or in certain things. So what plans of progress have you put in place just in case, I'm not going to say like another pandemic is going to come or another wave, but what things, have you learned now to put in place as a result of that? And what skills or knowledge are you gaining along the way, or have you gained during this lockdown, especially after the lockdown or during the lockdown? Trans-theoretical theory. Oftentimes, the trans-theoretical theory, when it comes to making progress or conforming to the patterns of this world, it begins with pre-contemplation, meaning like, okay, you have acknowledged you need to change. You've acknowledged you want to separate yourself from your past self and improve on your future self. So you've pre-contemplated that idea that some form of intervention or change is needed. Now, secondly, your contemplation is, I might enroll in that course. I might, formulate certain strategies. I might, get or learn a different skill set. I might start that business. And the third stage is determination. In order for you to make progress and not conform to the system of this world, and to take control of the circumstances of life and depression, is that I mentioned before, you have to be determined to take that first step. You have to be determined to get out of that depression. You have to be determined to find out who you are, because if you don't find out who you are, society and people will label you, will tell you, and let me tell you, they will place a value for you on who you are based on the job and based on the salary that they pay you. So you've got to be determined to take that extra step and take action, as I mentioned. Faith without action is dead. As much as in the course you've enrolled in speaking positivity, as much as in the course you've learned about forgiveness, about emotional versus logical thinking, as much as you've learned about your thought patterns, if you don't put everything that you've learned into action, then I'm sorry, but you're deceiving yourself. And as well as relapse, oftentimes you could be in action like, yes, for the first month, 30 days. They say if you want to do something consistently, in order for it to become a habit, you give it 30 days to 3 months. But in between that gap, you need that motivation, because it says the vision, write it down. It might tarry, but wait for it. It will surely come to pass. So in that period of waiting for it to come to pass, oftentimes most individuals, they tend to relapse back into old habits, back into that old way of thinking. So maintenance is key. Maintenance is key. So you need to strategize and come up with a formula, or what this course rather is going to do is help you not only overcome that relapse stage, but maintenance. You need to keep maintenance. As I mentioned before, accountability partners, they are very important, because woe to him that is alone. Because you know what? Two, they can keep each other warm. And overcoming the relapse stage. This involves changing your mindset and adopting healthy thinking patterns, which throughout the course, if you have listened to all the other courses prior to this, which have enabled you with the resources, with the tools, enabling you to do this. But honestly, consistency is key. As I mentioned from my personal experience, sometimes, yes, it can be hard to relapse into that old way of thinking. Sometimes when faced with a mountain, it says, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, if you say to this mountain, be thou removed and be cast into the sea, yes, it will be removed, but oftentimes it takes consistency, because it might not go away that very moment, depending on your level of faith, but it might go back, tomorrow, in 2 days, in 7 days, in 1 week, in 1 month, in 2 months. So sometimes consistency is key. It's like wanting, as I mentioned before, in terms of depression, anxiety, and eating habits. It took a while for me to get back to that healthy weight, because it takes consistency in eating, consistency in the protein shakes, the meal replacement shakes. It all takes consistency, which was key. And as well as accountability, I cannot stress this enough. As I mentioned, 2 are better than 1. Application of knowledge gained throughout the course, throughout my advice, from the dietitians and as well from the psychiatrists. I understood and I respected their professional advice and their knowledge, and I put that to work. But as well as I mentioned before, I got tired. I didn't want to live the rest of my life on antidepressants or taking supplements forever. So application of both is a combination of both. So application of knowledge, as I told you before you're enrolled in any type of counseling, please go and research more about that, so that you don't find yourself wasting your time on a form of therapy, whether it be CBT, person-centered approach, psychodynamic, that is not working for you. So push past the hurt. As I mentioned before, in terms of counseling, oftentimes you tend to feel worse before it gets better. So sometimes you need to push past the hurt. Like, you know what, right now, I don't feel like eating. I've lost the appetite, but my stomach shrunk. I need to push past that nausea and understand that, I need food to live. I need to push past that hurt. Like, yeah, maybe some trauma happened in the past, but you know what? Maybe this is a new person, a potentially new relationship, a potentially new friendship, a potentially new, relation with somebody. So I'm going to push past that hurt, past that trauma, past that experience, and embrace the new thing that God might be possibly trying to do in my life, and embrace that new season. As I mentioned, summer, winter, autumn, spring, they're all seasons. They all pass. You have to adjust accordingly. So are the seasons of your life. In order to take control of the circumstances of your life and of depression, and in order to get you into that maintenance stage. Strategy in place. Identify and know who you have or are confirming. So you need to identify and know who you are, whether you are progressing in your goals and objectives, or whether you're confirming to the patterns of this world. How are you doing your business? Did you go online? Did you copy somebody else? Or are you unique? Is your niche unique? Is your business unique? Are you confirming, or are you making progress? Are you standing out? Are you making personal progress? Because you can't run nobody else's race, and they cannot run your race for you. So identify what stage you are in. As I mentioned before, little by little, day by day, set a target. By this day, I have to accomplish this. And even if you don't, just make sure by whatever period of time or goal that you've set that it is actually completed. But the main important goal I want to stress here is to make progressive progress. By setting realistic objectives, and as well as being honest with yourself. You're honest with yourself, like, you know what, like as I mentioned today, maybe I couldn't eat a whole plate, of food. I could only eat half. Maybe, I don't have the capital, to start that business that I would like, but this is what I can do about this now. And avoid the comfort zone. Like I told you, sometimes, like with swimming, it's okay to, splash your feet at the shallow end, but sometimes getting into that deep end, you never know where you might find in the deep end. So avoid comfortability or fear of the unknown. Over to you. I want to thank you very much for listening. Congratulations, as I mentioned, on completing the course. Make sure to replay part 1, part 2, and this part. Lay down your strategies. Appreciate yourself. Make sure you're not conforming to the label or the responsibility of the concept of other people, of society. That make sure that you are making progressive progress in regards to your goals, your aims, and your objectives in order to reach self-actualization and attain to be the type of person that you want to be from 5, 10, 15 years from now on. And be authentic and be different and unique. Thank you very much for listening. This is the end of the course. And I hope that throughout all of this course, it has enabled you with the tools, the resources, or even the motivation to take control of depression and the circumstances of your life. I look forward to hearing your testimony and your progress. God bless you.